Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Suits and Laterals podcast. I'm Jeff. I'm joined today by Chris and Damien. Chris, what's going on?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Damien.
Good to talk to you guys. It's been a long time.
Here's what we're doing here. We're doing Suits and Laterals. Half the show is going to be about a football-related topic. Half the show is going to be about a football-related topic that is geared more towards the off-the-field stuff. So that said, today we're going to touch on the preseason and everything wrong with it, and we'll take a little look at what's going on with NFL cheerleading, how it's made the news, and what's wrong with that too. So getting started, jumping right in, we're going to talk preseason football, the games in August that nobody likes to go to, but I think to lead off, we should talk about the season ticket holders. Season ticket holders pay in excess of thousands of dollars for tickets, and they include 10 games. Now, you might remember that there are only 8 regular season home games, but there are 2 that don't count in the standings. So, Chris, is it fair that we're making season ticket holders, or not us, but the NFL teams are making season ticket holders pay for these 2 meaningless games at the full price rate that they are paying for the 8 regular season games that they actually enjoy going to?
I think it's ridiculous. I mean, football tickets are expensive enough as it is, and it's not like the NFL isn't bringing in billions of dollars from these new TV deals every year. So the fact that they need to charge people full price for exhibition games that are meaningless, and you may see the starters for a series to 3 series, is utterly ridiculous.
Damien, I know that you declared your ambivalence on everything preseason related, but you are a consumer. You like pricing things out. What do you think of the basically what is it? 20% of the or 20% of your tickets, or 10% of your tickets? Actually, it is 20%. Are just meaningless games that you do not want to go to. Is it fair?
No, and I'm with Chris on this. I think that the pricing is way too high, and I understand why owners don't want to reduce the price of it, but they should consider the fact that sometimes, you have to take a hit at the beginning of the season to build that goodwill. Thank you, Christopher. The goodwill of your fans. Yeah, I mean, reduce the price of the tickets, or I don't know, give them away.
Do you think the problem is seeing empty stadiums on television? These games are all pretty much rebroadcast on the NFL Network, whether it's the home feed or not is really immaterial. Do you think owners are ashamed of showing their empty upper bowls, and especially in the second half of these football games?
Well, I don't know that it would be as empty if they didn't charge the full price. I mean, I think that's part of the problem they're making the same people buy the tickets that come to the regular season games. Like Damien said, give the tickets away. People who are getting free tickets, kids and stuff like that, who would normally get a chance to come to an NFL game, they aren't going to leave. They're going to sit there and think it's the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah, I'm with Chris. I think if the concern were about how it looked on television, they would give the tickets away, or they would cut the prices by half. There are a number of things that owners could do to make sure that the seats were full if they actually cared about how the stadiums looked on television.
What do you think, and Damien, I'll throw this your way first, Mr. CampusPressBox.com. What do you think of playing these games off-site in college stadiums, overseas in Europe, perhaps in soccer stadiums, smaller venues maybe? Is there an answer to making this an event of intrigue if you play it in Tuscaloosa or Auburn, Alabama, or places that just don't see NFL athletes after they leave the campuses in Tuscaloosa and Auburn?
I think it might make a difference if the people, and just to use your specific example, Tuscaloosa and Auburn actually cared about the NFL, but I think in the South there's many people who still believe that college football is king no matter what. As far as moving the games to other places, sure, that would work, but I think the other solution, and one that we'll get to in a minute, is maybe just shorten the preseason.
Chris, any thoughts on neutralizing the sites and perhaps taking a little bit of the burden off the season ticket holders, even if it's only a game, even if they're just paying for one of those preseason games as 1/9 of their ticket package?
Yeah, it saves the fans money. It's going to be on TV. It gives people an experience to go to a different stadium. Think about how many fans out there like to go across the country and say, hey, I've been to this stadium and I've been to that stadium. And if you get into some of these more legendary college stadiums, so to speak, that people would like that. I think it's a benefit for everyone.
And the Browns are looking to do pretty well with their scrimmage at Ohio Stadium, are they not?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be a Browns fan base that's going to travel to there. I mean, people who wouldn't normally go to Ohio State games, or, I mean, you're not going to get the Bengals fans in there, I don't think, but you're definitely going to get a good traveling of Browns fans.
It might be night and day between the Browns and Bengals, but one of the things that we do see in the preseason that to take some chances is some experimentation with the rules. I know that they extended the extra point a year ago in August, and now we're going to have it in regular season games. What do you think of that? Of using these exhibition games as kind of a sounding board for radical ideas like that appeared to be a year ago.
I think it's a good thing to. I mean, you're going to get the traditionalists who hate it, but I mean, in all honesty, the extra point is pretty much. There's no drama to it, which is why they're making the change. I mean, you could argue how they changed it, whether it's the right way to do it or not, but it's good to kind of shake things up and make it a little more challenging and encourage teams to go for two more often.
I think as far as experimenting with the rules, I think obviously the preseason is the only place you can do it. They don't have the benefit of a summer league like the NBA does, or the extended period of spring training like Major League Baseball does. So I think they have to kind of do the college basketball model here, is use real games, real-ish games, to test to see if these rules are worth it and if they benefit anyone. As
long as they don't go do what Major League Baseball did and make the NFL Pro Bowl worth something.
I don't think that would happen in 100 million years. I really don't. But it brings up a good point. It is the other exhibition game. I mean, everybody plays four, and then you have that one that's the American Football Conference against the NFC. So but you can't really do anything there because let's just jump right ahead to talking about the risk of injuries in the preseason. We've seen players sit out. We've seen LaDainian Tomlinson doesn't play the preseason. I don't believe Peyton Manning played the preseason in Indianapolis. I'm not sure. I don't believe that's the case in Denver either. But does the risk of the preseason frankly outweigh the reward that you're going to get being able to see these guys in live action?
I don't think it. I mean, they don't need 4 games is what it amounts to, and which is why I think everybody or the owners and stuff have talked about going to the 18-game schedule or whatever, and that's why, I mean, the 4th game, no starters play in the 4th game pretty much. It's usually the 3rd and 4th stringers, or maybe somebody who's trying to come back from an injury and can play in the first 3 games type of thing, but they really only need 2 exhibition games, I think, max, to get players ready for the season.
I actually think that 3 is a better number, not just so much for the veterans, but for the rookies and for the guys who you're going to cut. I think that sometimes the only time you're going to be able to evaluate these guys in real contact-to-contact is in the preseason. I think that 3 is a better model. I'm not in favor of going to 18 regular season games. I think there's already too many NFL games, especially when they add another round of the playoffs. But I think that 3 works. And then you have one game where the starters play, I don't know, 2 quarters or whatever that is, and then you can kind of play the rookies or the walk-ons or whatever they're called in the other games. And I think that 3rd game is where you significantly reduce the price of admission for the fans.
I'm going to take it to another level here. I say the number should be 0. These games are completely worthless to me. I think that they're a burden on the teams, and the players have to hate them. I think that we'd get I think that the players would open up more to an extended schedule. I'm not necessarily in favor of that, but I think that you could put expanded playoffs on the table. I think that there's a number of things you could do if you offer the players a concession of saying, hey, we don't need to play any games in August. We don't need to play in front of spectators. Maybe they get a 17th game out of it. Maybe they get 14 or 16 teams in the playoffs like it is in the NBA and the NHL. I mean, I think that there's quite a few possibilities. And what do you really see in the preseason that you can't see on your own practice field? Now, I'm not adverse to to inter squad scrimmages where you play a local team at a community college, and it's a glorified practice, and you're not trying to fill your stadiums in the metropolis. I think that that's a direction that they could go, and I think that I don't think that there's anything you can see in an exhibition environment against another team that you can't see on the practice field.
Yeah, but it'll never happen because of the money involved.
The business of this week that we're discussing is NFL cheerleaders. Every team is not represented by cheerleaders. There are 6 that do not, and they're all storied franchises. Starting with the Detroit Lions, you have the Cleveland Browns, the New York Giants, the Green Bay Packers, and the Chicago Bears. Those are the 6 teams that do not. And based on the weather in those areas in the months of November, December, and January, it's quite understandable. Detroit plays inside, but and has for quite some time. But still opts not to have it. It's almost like a regional thing, is it not, guys?
It's a popular thing. I mean, you think about it in college sports, everybody has cheerleaders, at least as far as I know. So it's just one of those things that's kind of evolved with the NFL. And I mean, you hear the fan bases that don't have them. Most of them want them. Some of them are like, nah. It's at this point, it's a historical thing. But at the end of the day, I mean, they're there for the male entertainment, to be honest. I think not so much to do anything to do with the team or to get the fans cheered up.
Yeah, I'm with Chris here. I mean, I'm in Cleveland, and I don't care about cheerleaders. I don't go to Browns games, so I don't see them on TV anyway. So I'm not going to say they're useless, but they're useless.
It's a hard thing to say. They don't. NFL teams, save maybe the Ravens, and there might be one other. NFL teams don't have marching bands. It's not high school football. It's not college football. It's a different level. That there's no. The atmosphere is the game itself. The atmosphere is what happens when the first quarter clock. The clock ticks from 15 minutes down to 14:59 and everything thereafter. That happens in the in the 53 yards between the sidelines. So I don't think that they add the value that they might have once upon a time, but. There are a lot of ladies that, considering 26 teams have cheerleaders, and considering at least the Raiders squad has about 40 cheerleaders on it, and that number varies. I mean, the Cowboys cheerleaders are kind of something of an icon. They're in North Texas, but it is what it is. I mean, they get paid, but. That's where the issue comes, and that's why this is something of a relevant topic for episode 0 here, and that's that they don't feel that they get paid enough. They do off-field or non-game day appearances where they don't get paid. They get paid per deal. They basically get paid by the game, and sometimes it's less than $100 an hour for what they consider is 10 hours of work. Damian, let me just throw it your way. Do you feel that these women, because they are obligated to show up and perform like professional dancers, do you think that they're entitled to at least minimum wage to dance on the sidelines of Sunday football games?
I think that if you are an employee of any corporation that is profitable, which I think we can all agree that the NFL teams are, based on the numbers that came out this week, and you have employees in which you require them to appear somewhere, even at work, for any amount of time, that at the very least you can do is give them minimum wage. And if they are above however many hours per week the federal government mandates, then you should give them health benefits and vacation time and all that other happy stuff.
Any thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they are part of the team, so they have them out there working. They should pay them for it. It's just, Damien's right. It's just like any other job. If you're working for a company, you're supposed to be paid for it, regardless of what the fame or anything else you get from it. You should still get paid something and get some sort of reimbursement.
Here's the thing, though, and this is what I say to the people who complain about the people who have to work on Thanksgiving or whatever. If you know what it is when you take the job, like if you know that you're going to have to work on Thanksgiving, or that this is the amount of money you're going to make and these are the hours, then stop complaining.
Let me draw a parallel to something that the three of us might be a little more familiar with, and that's it's come up with the Huffington Post, it's come up with the Bleacher Report, where you are a money-making entity, but you have some people that you want to share their work or contribute for no cost, and in exchange, they have to accept it as they're getting the exposure. Do you think that, and I've read the article, I've read the articles related to Lacey T's, lawsuit with the Oakland Raiders and everything else, and Do you think that they get the exposure to be actresses? Because you see a lot of these are just stay-at-home moms, doctors, lawyers, sales professionals. There's no specific path of the NFL cheerleader and what they do with the rest of their life. But are they getting good exposure if they want their appearance or their body or their dancing skills to be a sellable commodity after their life as an NFL cheerleader?
The only NFL cheerleader I know is Deb Carson. I don't know of any other one.
I don't even know who that is.
She does radio updates on Fox Sports Radio. She's the only NFL cheerleader I've ever heard of in my life. So I guess the question is what are you trying to be exposed to? You know what I mean? Like you said, actors and actresses. Like I don't, and it's not you, but it's them. What's your goal in life?
Right.
If somebody comes to me with a resume and they have NFL cheerleader, and I go, great, did you show up to work? You don't get any more bonus points because you were a cheerleader in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think, the most famous crossover person into that, more of the pop culture world from being a professional cheerleader would probably be Paula Abdul, who, became a Laker girl to choreographer to, she was a recording artist for a while. And, I think her latest gig is judging others. But, that's somebody that, that's somebody that came from that world. I don't know that being a Laker girl may not necessarily made her as much as her, her God-given talent did. But, you have to think that exposure, now it's tough because I think you're a needle in a haystack when you're dancing with 39 other women.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's no career path for this. I think you're doing it for yourself, and you can say, hey, I was a Raiderette or I was a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader type thing. You're doing it to be a status symbol, not to get somewhere else necessarily. I mean, maybe you're trying to score some reality TV thing these days or something like that, or I think a lot of times, I can't say this for sure, but they're going after the NFL players or the players in the prospective sports.
That's a possibility. I wouldn't say that that's probably the primary motive. I wouldn't assume. I wouldn't come anywhere near assuming that, let alone suggesting it. So, but that's it's the environment that they're in, and they do. Cheerleaders do marry football players. I mean, we saw it with Ian Johnson after the Fiesta Bowl in 2007. It's cliche, but it happens. It's probably not it's probably honestly not the norm these days. What we're wrapping this whole topic around is the Oakland Raiderette lawsuit that basically demanded that these cheerleaders were making more than minimum wage. I think that they ended up settling on $9 an hour, which may be minimum wage in California, for what I know.
Correct.
It is. So they're getting treated fairly, but I think that it all goes back to what Damian said. When you take a job, know what you're getting into, know what it is, and don't be unhappy when it's not what it never was, right?
Right. That's and I never talk about my job, but I'll a little inside baseball here. When people get hired and they get hired under the understanding that they're going to travel 80% of the time, and then 6 months later they realize how much 80% of the time is, and they hate their job and they want out. It's like you knew what it was when you signed it, when you applied. Like on the application, it specifies how much travel time it is. So if you know what it is, there's really not much to complain about. If it isn't fair, don't get in.
Is it valuable experience? I mean, could these could people that participate on cheerleading squads arguably say that they worked in marketing for for example, the Arizona Cardinals? I mean, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're saying, come to the games, be interested in the team. It's it's probably a very glorified spot where you could probably get away with women with the business acumen that don't have to have the aesthetics to back it up. But I mean, that's what it comes down to. It is part of the marketing department. It just has to be, right?
I say that's actually a very interesting perspective, Jeff, but I think you're dead on there. They are part of the marketing aspect of the team. I actually hadn't thought about it in that way.
I'd be interested to know from the team's perspective what value the cheerleaders actually bring. And I ask that when we consider that the NFL in the month of October goes pink pretty much everywhere. And in the movement in 2015 where, not the feminist movement, but, women in the workplace and all that other stuff. I wonder how women who are fans view the value of cheerleaders.
I don't know that they value them, to be honest. As I said before, I think that's more of a male-driven part of it.
And I understand that, but if the numbers are correct, 45% of the NFL audience are females at this point. Is the female audience done with NFL cheerleaders? Like, that's what I'm saying. I want to know what the teams are hearing from women about cheerleaders.
There's got to be studies out there. I mean, you would assume that the NFL would do their diligence to see if this is something that they want as part of the game. Now, keep in mind, I was, while you guys were speaking, I was thinking of another thing is that these cheerleaders serve as hosts. When they bring the women on the field for breast cancer awareness, they bring all the survivors out. They're escorted by the cheerleaders. The cheerleaders, they do have obligations. They're not just moving around and trying to look good. I mean, they have responsibilities. So, and they're also used as marketing devices. I can recall the New England Patriots when they were playing the Bengals on, I think it was Monday Night Football. You saw all the New England cheerleaders wearing Devin Still jerseys to promote Leah Still's cancer cause. They'll take ample opportunity to outfit these ladies to push whatever they need pushed.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, I've heard about it too, where they'll send the cheerleaders to local hospitals and stuff like that to interact with the kids and things like that as well. So that's part of their community outreach as well as using the cheerleaders for that. And like I said, that's all part of the marketing initiative.
Damien, any other thoughts on cheerleaders?
I don't need them.
I can't speak for Chris, but I believe that would be the consensus here.
Yeah, like I said, they don't have anything to do with the game. It's not. I mean, the crowd's going to cheer and be excited whether you have them or not. I mean, like you said, 6 teams still don't have them, and obviously it hasn't hurt those teams fan-wise, and because they haven't done anything to change that fact.
Chris, NFL football in general, it's about a month and some change away. Any quick thoughts on what's going on as we approach the season?
I mean, for the most part, I think it's been a fairly quiet off season, at least from my perspective. Maybe I've missed something, but I haven't. It just seems to be not as dramatic as usual, other than this constant weight of what's going to happen with Tom Brady.
Damien, anything sticking out thus far this NFL off season other than Tom Brady?
Discipline is the big topic in the NFL. Domestic violence and on-field discipline and concussions and officiating and all those things are things that I'm interested in, and I think a lot of fans are now more interested in than they were 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, because now they have a significantly higher impact on on-field play.
As for me, I anticipate the season. I am a diehard fan. I cannot wait for it to start. I could do without the preseason, like I said, but I could also do without the cheerleaders. But can't really do it without you two. So, Damien, Chris, thank you so much. This has been Suits and Laterals, episode 0. Have a good night, everyone.